Hello, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. We're at the top of the hour, but I see a lot of people are still getting in, so we're just going to wait 2-3 more minutes for everybody to join. Awesome. I see kind of everybody's in now. We have quite a lot of people from a bit all over the world, so I'm super excited. Let me first introduce myself. My name is Vlad Catrinescu. I'm a product evangelist here at Valo Intranet in North America, and I'm based out of Montreal, Canada. If any of you are from Montreal, I really hope you have your winter tires on because as you see, if you look outside, it's not the prettiest day out there. So let's get started with this Ignite recap. Remember that I want this to be an interactive session as well. So if you have any questions, there's a chat functionality. There's also a Q&A functionality. So please ask questions and I'll do my best to answer all of them. Let's get started. So first of all, let's talk a bit about the big SharePoint keynote, which was Jeff Tepper's keynote. Let's take a look at some of the announcements from that. The first one, and something that I found super awesome. SharePoint Online now has 100 million monthly active users. I don't know about you, but I find this number just crazy to have that many people in the world using SharePoint. And when you think at it in a way, SharePoint is a niche tool. I mean, if you think in your day-to-day life, not a lot of people, if you tell them that you work with SharePoint, they probably ask, sure, what? They don't know what it is. But the fact that throughout the world, 100 million people use SharePoint Online in the cloud, I just found that to be awesome. Microsoft actually launched an awesome new product at Ignite. And this is probably the biggest news at Ignite this year, Project Cortex. This is really the new product in the Office, or should I say Microsoft 365 suite. So what is Project Cortex? In simple terms, Project Cortex is a way to aggregate, automatically find, and classify data. So all of your content in the organization in a central knowledge center. I know that what you see on the screen right now might not be super clear, but I found on the internet, and this is the Wall Street Journal, I found that the way that they explained it to be super nice. Turn business data into Wikipedia-like snapshots. So really go through all of your documents, all of the data in the graph, whether it's discussions in Yammer, stuff in Teams, documents, sites, things like that. Analyze them all. So really learn what that information is, get it, summarize it, and then put it in a central location. So when people look for a project, look for something, they have that topic page that can go to that will automatically show what is this project about, who's working on it, and really find everything on that topic in a single location. So it's really a knowledge network, and we have seen kind of how it will automatically work in Outlook as well. It will automatically detect acronyms. So if you get an email talking about an acronym, it will automatically say, hey, they gave the example of core inside of the demos, but it will become kind of a knowledge card that you can see everything and everybody working on that. And all of it is 100% automatic. You can, of course, help it out because we know that automatic works really good, but it can always use some human help, so you can help it out. But that's the cool part. A lot of it is automatic. The other cool part, and that's maybe me from a bit more of a technical perspective, it runs 100% on SharePoint, the front end. So you're going to be able to create your knowledge center. You're going to be able to have web parts for it in there. So even if all of the AI, all of the processing is probably done in Azure somewhere in the back, a lot of the front end will be hosted in SharePoint. So it will increase that 100 million uh, active number to even more. And like I said a bit before, uh, it has native integration with a bunch of the AI tools like AI Builder and things like that. So you can really tag, okay, I have an invoice. If you look at those documents, if you find this, this is where the invoice is, this is where the client is, this is where the due date is. You can teach it as well. So you can teach it where to find stuff. You can teach it stuff to make it more reliable. Project Cortex was actually in private preview. It's still in a private preview, but a bit less private now. You can actually apply to be part of the preview program. So if you think that your company can use this, if you think that it might be useful for you, you can go to aka.ms/Project Cortex and you can submit your application to become part of that preview. So you can really go in and get it inside your company with a lot of help from Microsoft. There hasn't been a lot of talk about licensing, so I do not know if it will be included in the E5 or maybe Microsoft 365 E5 or things like that, or if it's going to be a premium license. Personally, I expect it to be more of a premium thing, kind of like Work Analytics, which is a premium license not included in Office 365, but there hasn't been any formal announcement about that. Now let's talk about some other news. Really cool news, Delta Sync, not only for Office files. Office 365 had Delta Sync for Office files since earlier this year. So if you had a big Word document, you had it synced offline with OneDrive for Business, you changed a few words, it will only change, it would only update the changes. But that was not the case for, like, say, engineering files, AutoCAD, X-rays, images, Photoshop files, and other big files. And a lot of those companies could not use really efficiently the OneDrive for Business sync because let's say you make a small change in a 5 gigabyte file, which is common for those types of projects. It would have to sync it all again, which would create a lot of network bandwidth. But now we have Delta Sync on every single file type. So you're going to see a lot less network traffic if you're an IT admin and a lot faster sync if you use it as a user. Another big news, the SharePoint Lookbook. For those of you that haven't seen the SharePoint Lookbook before, the SharePoint Lookbook is a site. You can find it at lookbook.microsoft.com. The word lookbook actually comes from the fashion industry. It's made to kind of show what are the tendency, what is new and coming for the upcoming season. So the SharePoint Lookbook kind of follows that same idea where they show off how you can build beautiful sites by using SharePoint Online Modern. And the really cool thing is not only screenshots. If you're a tenant admin, you can actually click one button and you can deploy that demo site inside of your tenant. So this way, let's say you have your intranet is still on Classic, or you just want to show SharePoint Online some cool sites to your executive team, you can just go deploy those example in your tenant, and then you're going to have ready to go beautiful sites in just a few minutes to show off, instead of just showing a modern SharePoint, a blank site. You can now also customize your office.com, so your out-of-the-box kind of office portal that you go to. You can customize it, you can brand it to look more like your brand. That's really, it's small things, but really cool for companies that like to brand everything. So small news, but really, really nice. There is also a new Office app for your phone. And the cool thing about the Office app is, remember how, and there was a few jokes out there on the internet about how you can have any phone, an Android or a Microsoft one, be a Microsoft phone, because you could download all of the Microsoft apps and you would have 20, 30 applications if you want to use everything in Microsoft. So you'd have, let's say, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, OneNote, Delve, Groups, SharePoint, OneDrive, Sway, Forums, Flow, PowerApps, and I can keep going and going. But I guess a lot of people found that to be disconnected in a way. And the Office app, instead of having Word, PowerPoint, Excel as separate apps, we're now going to have a single app for all of those files. So that'll reduce the number of apps inside your phone, and also have a better integration, because you might be in a PowerPoint file, but then you need to get some text from Word, you need to get a table from Excel, and instead of switching apps, you can stay in the same app and really go and be more productive without switching context. There's also been, I wouldn't really say news, but kind of investments inside the Microsoft 365 dev platform. If we look at the dev platform, kind of how it progressed, the first thing that Microsoft invested on is the Microsoft Graph. And then we had the SharePoint framework. So really, that's what most devs use today. But Microsoft has been pushing a lot on the Fluid framework as well. So if we look at what is the Fluid framework, the Fluid framework is a way to really have the same experience, whether you're on the web in Outlook, on a page inside a wiki, in PowerPoint or in SharePoint, really have the same experience for collaboration at the same time, have everybody work together in a single location or multiple locations, but the text show up in multiple locations. So makes that modern collaboration a lot easier. Yammer, which we're going to talk about in a few seconds, is really the first app to make use of that Fluid framework. But if you're a dev, you're definitely going to want to look into Fluid and see how you can leverage it in your apps as well. Let's go. We talked a bit about Yammer. Let's talk about a year of Yammer. You have probably seen all of the buzz on social media. This has been a big topic this year. A lot of Yammer announcements, and they have called it the year of Yammer. Even at Ignite, in the kind of stairways, there's like the middle place between the mechanical stairways. There was a year of Yammer hashtags talking about communities and things like that on there. So Yammer was really big at Ignite this year. If we look at a high level, the stuff that's included in there, we're going to have a new Yammer experience, and that's going to be built in a Fluid. So we're going to get that in 2020. We're going to have live events and video that's finally going to go general availability. So all of you will have it in Q1 next year. A new compliance stuff. As you all know, Yammer has been a bit not as integrated with all of the compliance things in Office 365, but we're going to get a lot more integrated, a lot more features for that. We're also getting a new SharePoint web part and Yammer app for Teams, as well as in Outlook. So this means that even if Yammer is kind of the backbone for the outer loop in Microsoft 365, we're going to be able to consume it from Outlook, from Teams, from SharePoint. So really increases the places from where you can interact with Yammer as a user. Kind of if we look at, and I'm not going to go through all of it, you guys will all have the slides afterwards. I really think the big highlight for me is that it will be a lot more integrated with the rest of Office 365. We're going to have a lot more of those integrations, whether it's where files are stored. We're going to have the Office 365 people card instead of kind of having another profile for Yammer. Instead of groups, they're going to be called communities. So kind of makes that when to use what conversation a lot easier. And we're also going to get features for the live videos like Q&A, question filters, things like that. And even kind of a vibes app with the short videos and photos and videos in the feed. You can join the private preview if you want. So it's aka.ms, the new Yammer, starting in December, so in just a few weeks. And the change is going to start rolling probably for targeted release in Q1, so January to March 2020, and general availability in the first half of the year. So it's stuff that is coming fairly soon. Now let's talk a bit back to SharePoint modern metadata. And this is one of the things that I think Project Cortex pushed for, because in order to classify that information, you need to have proper metadata. So really cool, we're going to get a brand new investment in managed metadata. That feature has been there since SharePoint 2010. It hasn't really gotten any love from Microsoft, at least from a UI perspective, since 2010. So the fact that we're going to be able to have a brand new way to manage it, we're going to be able to have analytics, we're going to be able to have stuff like that in the admin center and for users as well. I'm really excited about that. Now let's talk about Teams as well. Biggest news in Teams: private channels. Now I know there's people there that love private channels and love the idea, and there's people out there that hate the idea of private channels, because Teams was supposed to be that kind of open communication where everybody can see everything kind of place. So I'm not going to pick a side just yet, but private channels are here. Everybody should already have them or will have them pretty soon. The biggest impact, and I mean for users, private channels are quite easy. You just create a new channel, select it to be private, and then you have a private channel. But from a management point of view, there is a lot of things for Teams and SharePoint administrators to understand. So how will it work? You know how right now each group, so each team, has a SharePoint site collection. And all of the files in that team are stored in the shared documents library of that site collection. Well, every private channel will actually create a new site collection. So if you have, you see the maximum is 30, but if you have 30 private channels, you're actually going to create 30 new site collections, and each site collection will be dedicated to that private channel. Something else that's really interesting is from a management perspective. Let's say I'm a team owner and I have my colleague John that's in the team. If John creates a private channel and invites, let's say, Maria, Vlad, as the team owner, I can see that a private channel got created, but even if I'm the team owner, I do not have access to see what information is inside that private channel. So they really took the concept of private, that even the team owner doesn't see the files, doesn't see the conversations in that private channel. You don't even see the SharePoint site collections created inside the SharePoint admin center. So really, really private, really a lot of things to look at as a Teams admin. You can, of course, turn it off if you want to while you get used to it. And I've seen a lot of companies, at least on Twitter, following the community. While everybody likes it and find the idea nice, a lot of administrators kind of have disabled it. They're playing with it on different teams so they can get their governance, get their management strategy right before opening up to the whole company. Other really smaller, I would say, but in a way nice for usage, you can now have multi-window in Teams, so you can actually pop out a chat, a meeting, or a call. So if you're working on something, you can keep working in Teams. Let's say you're in a meeting that takes forever and you got invited, you have to be there, but you know that you just have to listen. Well, you can now just pop it out in a separate chat, put it on your second screen, and keep working in Teams or keep chatting with other people in separate ones without having to minimize the content that's being shared. You can now also pin channels to the top. So not only Teams, certain channels, your favorite channels, you can pin them to the top from different teams together. So really all of the most favorite stuff that you use can all be out there. And there's also a new integration between Outlook and Teams. So you can share, like, say, an email directly from Outlook to Microsoft Teams. So you can continue collaborating there rather than forward it to people and collaborate by email. Now, something that I'm super excited about, the integration of tasks in Teams. I've always joked that kind of as Microsoft progressed from everything collaboration being in SharePoint, from tasks to files to videos to everything in SharePoint, we then started having specialized tools for everything. But for tasks, it was a mess because we had tasks in Microsoft To Do, in Planner, in Outlook, in a bit all over the place. But now they're starting to kind of bring them all together. So now in the task view in Teams, I can at least see all of the tasks from To Do, from Teams channels, from Planner, from Outlook, all of it in a single location. Talking about integrating stuff, we can now also easily package PowerApps and bring them inside Teams. So let's say I created a nice app, I want to have it for all the company, but I don't want to tell people, oh, go to PowerApps to use this app or stuff like that. You can really integrate it nicely. So as a Power App creator, you can go in the PowerApps Admin Center and export it to Teams. As you see, it will download the zip file. Now you can actually go and add it inside Teams. You might not be able to do it as a user. You might still need to go through IT, but at least that packaging, all of that will be a lot easier to do. And then you can pay your Teams or SharePoint admin, whoever manages Teams, nice lunch, and they're going to add it to you a lot easier. You can also pin apps. So if you have an app created with PowerApps, you can add it in there and you can have it directly in the launcher. So it's a lot easier to access without people having to go to, again, 10 different places to find the apps they're looking for. Now let's talk a bit about intranet stuff and SharePoint. First of all, the admin experience. Microsoft will, again, as you have seen, the SharePoint Admin Center has gotten a big update with the Modern Admin Center. Probably the Modern Admin Center is not the official name. That's just how I call it. But it has gotten an update. They actually renamed classic features to more features, which I love. And we're going to get a few more customization options in there. SharePoint home sites also will finally hit general availability. Microsoft announced them at SharePoint Conference 2019. They said they will be coming soon. And now they're finally going to go in every tenant. They said by the end of the year. But this might also cause some confusion because remember, we kind of went from one site collection with subsites. Everything was easy. It was maybe not the easiest experience, but it was easy to understand. And then we kind of went to the hub principle where we had different hubs and then everything was flat. So we had site collections, everything attached to the same hub, and it was flexible. uh, we could move sites from one hub to the other and everything. But now the cool thing is, again, like I said, we moved from site collection where everything is a hub, and now we can also connect hubs together. And the home site can become kind of your entry place that will aggregate information from maybe one hub, maybe even multiple hubs together. So it can become the root, the entry point to your digital workplace. You can even make it your root site. So now you can swap out your old root site. You can bulk associate sites to a hub, and you can even update site URLs. So those are all cool stuff that has been added recently. Talking about admin stuff, we now also have a new administrative role, which is called the global reader. So let's say you wanted to have an audit, you wanted to bring a consultant in to do a health check of your tenant, and you kind of wanted to give them access to see everything, but not actually modify anything. And that was not possible. And this is where the new global reader admin role comes in. You can allow somebody to view everything inside the tenant, but not actually change anything. So that's pretty awesome. Let's take a look a bit at the kind of for the SharePoint and OneDrive admin, take a look at what's happening there on the roadmap. As you can see, most of the things that I talked about will be available soon. A few of them next year, so that usually means the first half. And then top of mind, retire the classic admin center. So some people are still using it, especially people not in targeted release, but the new admin center is getting there. So I guess as soon as they reach feature parity, they will retire the classic admin center. So everybody will be on the same experience. Now let's talk about some other cool new things. First of all, some more analytics so you can view the user engagement in a more true way. So not only they open the page by accident, they actually how much time they spent reading news and post, and see how much time the user is actually active on the page. So you can really see if they read it or did they just open it. Okay, I open it, I'm done, and that's it. And this data can be downloaded as an Excel file, so you can actually go and kind of put them into Power BI, put them in your favorite reporting tool, and get all of your reports from there and kind of integrate it with the rest of your reports. And you can also have analytics not only per SharePoint site, but also per hub. So you can really look at the hub, at your intranet, at your sales hub, and be able to see at that hub level what is important. Now let's talk a bit about the roadmap for analytics. You're going to be able to have soon the people that like a page, comments on a page, understand who read this in the organization. And early next year, we're going to get a lot of the things like the active time spent reports, downloading the usage data in Excel and the hub analytics. And then top of mind, so when Microsoft says top of mind, that's usually maybe for Ignite next year, but we're going to be able to get recommendations and more tenant settings. Now let's talk a bit about hub sites. And I mentioned associated hub a bit before, but let's dive a bit deeper inside it. So what do hub sites give you? Shared navigation and branding, roll-up of content and search, and really a destination for the hub, kind of where do people go? But now something cool that we get, first of all, is hub permissions. So being able to also share permissions between all of the sites in the hub so you don't have to do it manually. You can have approval before joining a hub. And also, instead of joining them one by one, you can do a bulk hub association in the admin center to make it a lot easier if you don't want to do it via PowerShell. I talked about associated hubs a bit, but here's the slide for it. So associated hubs now allows you to have, like, say, you have your intranet, but maybe you're a big organization and you see that you have enough content for HR to be its own hub instead of just a site. But before that, to have that shared navigation, you could only have your intranet in a single hub. So sorry, now you can actually have associate hubs together, and it will bring all of that roll up, it will bring all of that navigation together. This way it will be a lot easier to manage the information architecture. Now, if we talk about the roadmap for the intelligent intranet, the joint approval and the bulk hub association will be available really soon. For branding, we're actually going to get a shy header, they call it, so a lot smaller header, and a few other things like vertical sections, which are actually already available. Something that I was really excited about was making a classic team site a communication site. So you can see it, let me actually highlight it over here. You can make from a classic team site, turn it not only into a modern team site, but in a communication site. So that can maybe make all of that migration to the modern intranet a lot easier. Then for early next year, that's when we're gonna get multilingual, which we haven't really seen yet, but we know it's coming. We're gonna get associated hub, hub permissions, hub analytics. All of that is coming next year. And something really big, announced last year, but finally coming, SharePoint Spaces public preview. So that will be really big. I can't wait to see it. I haven't yet met any clients that do a lot of that, so I can't wait to see it live as soon as it hits a public preview. Now let's talk a bit about OneDrive. Sorry for that, my microphone went on mute for no reason. And now let's talk OneDrive. So first of all, what did we get new since 2019? We had password protected links, being able to block downloads, external sharing reports, a new app for iOS, the ability to request files. So let's say you want to set kind of, I hate to call it a Dropbox, so I'll call it a drop folder, where you want people to drop their files, and then you can request files, kind of say, hey, everybody, drop your files in here. It sends them an email, and the ability to add files in there, and only drop files. That is all. Also, share the library inside Microsoft Teams, shared directly from Teams, as well as the file picker for Outlook Mobile. Like I mentioned before, kind of the request file is the stuff that I'm a bit the most excited about, because now I don't just have to kind of put everybody in an email, tell them where to go, or create a SharePoint folder or something like that, make it complicated. I can just create a folder, request files, and it will email everybody, give them the permissions automatically, and say, okay, I need your files, send them here, It will automatically add their name to the file when they upload it, and everything is just a lot smoother. Most of the stuff, like I said, has been delivered since the SharePoint conference. Uh, Stuff that's available soon is the file card for conversations, a new file experience and sharing experience in Teams, being able to mention people in directly inside Office files. Also, OneNote migration via the PC folder backup, or also known as known folder manager. Something else that is coming and it's actually rolling out now is 100 gig max file limit. That is huge. So you're going to be able to actually upload a single file that's 100 gig. So those are big files. It enables kind of almost every company now to use SharePoint and OneDrive with size of files that big, and also being able to block download for non-Office files. So right now we can block download only for Office files when we share them in view only, but now we're going to be able to do it in non-Office files as well. And now let's talk about migration as well. Migration-wise, from the Microsoft side, the only tool we had so far was the migration tool. The migration tool allowed us to really migrate from file shares, SharePoint 2013 and SharePoint 2010, in reality to SharePoint, but because OneDrive runs on SharePoint, Team has SharePoint in the back, so we have all of the three icons here. But the SharePoint migration tool allowed you to migrate only from on-prem or file shares to SharePoint and associated file services, I'll say. But and kind of what we could do, of course, migrate to a specific folder or channel. We could have an easy access to it, and it worked really, really nice. Something that we're getting now is a lot better speed. So you can actually have multiple clients, let's say on VMs and things like that, and then kind of start the migration tasks directly from the SharePoint admin center. And this way, instead of only having one machine migrating and being throttled over there, you can actually kind of coordinate it from the admin center and have all of those different agents or clients actually do the migration a lot faster. Of course, another big news was the acquisition of Mover by Microsoft. So what is Mover? Mover is a third-party migration company from Canada, actually from Edmonton. And what they specialize in is actual migration from different cloud providers. So for companies that want to bring their files from Dropbox, Google Drive, Ignite, Box, things like that, to Microsoft. And that will be provided free for any, it says Microsoft 365, but any Office 365 customer as well. So if you have content on Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, you're going to be able to use Mover to bring that data in for free. Initially, right now, it's only for North American customers. I think that GCC customers are not included in the first kind of wave because of the security, compliance, and everything requirements. However, Microsoft's goal is to make it free for each customer. They have to bring more data into Microsoft 365. From a roadmap perspective, what is coming soon is kind of the Mover migration. So we're going to have the self-serve migration from Box, Dropbox, Google Drive, Ignite, the migration manager, so we can manage the large migrations directly from the admin center. In 2020, Microsoft will actually add SharePoint 2016 and 2019 support to the SharePoint migration tool. We're going to have the migration manager go into general availability and also support SharePoint on premises. and also open up self-serve migration for all customer. Top of mind, so stuff that we're probably going to hear more at Ignite 2020 is bringing both those tools together and probably in the admin center. That's what I think. And again, this is just where I would hope they bring it all, both the SharePoint migration tool and the mover service, bring it all under one single migration service directly in the admin center. This way, companies can migrate with one tool from wherever their content is. Awesome. Now I see we're at about 40 minutes, so that's exactly where I wanted to be. This way we have time for questions. So let me open up the chat and check if you guys have any questions. If you have any, please ask them in here and I'll get to them. So first one, when will the task integration happen for Teams? That was something that was 2020. So the task integration in Teams should happen in early 2020. You can, of course, look in the Office 365 roadmap, and that's, you can subscribe to it, add as a RSS, so you can get more news when that should happen. My pleasure. So that one was answered. Let me get another question here about multilingual. So multilingual will get here early next year, as you have seen, and we haven't really seen a lot. We have seen some small demos of what it will look like. I really cannot give more information right now until it gets into public preview. So I don't have a lot more information in that one, unfortunately. So let's wait a bit for other questions. Ooh, question about SharePoint Server on premises. Where the new, are there any news about SharePoint on-prem? No news about a new server yet, so that hasn't been talked a lot about in the conference. However, there's some new stuff for SharePoint on-prem in Azure. There's some new farm templates. There's some new IRM templates that you can use to kind of get your tests set up a lot easier inside Azure. A question about Microsoft Endpoint Manager. I haven't covered it yet. The reason that I haven't covered it yet is because I'm more of a SharePoint Office 365 guy. I'm not a big kind of Intune and SCCM guy. However, and I'll just bring it here for everybody to see since I do not have any slides for it. Endpoint Manager allows you to, it kind of combines Intune and System Center Configuration Manager in a single dashboard, in a single tool. This way it's a lot easier to manage all of your devices, whether they're mobile devices, so like say phones, tablets, things like that, with traditional clients like desktop, Windows 10, in a single location. So you wouldn't have to, you don't have to work with two different tools to manage everything. Question on private channels. When will we see private channels in Teams and multi-window? That should all be here this year, by the end of the year. If we're in targeted release, you're probably going to get them a lot faster, but everything should be in every tenant this year. A question about intranets. How does the emphasis on build your own intranet features, home, associated hubs, and so on, affect third-party products like Valo? Okay, that is a great question. And I believe that Microsoft as a service will continue to try and fill in the gaps on stuff that they need. And if we look at intranet in a box products for Classic, already if your intranet in a box was responsive, everybody was like, wow, take my money. But Microsoft has been investing a lot in that, and that is good for customers and that is good for everybody because it really forces intranet in a box products like Valo to really be more agile, invest a lot more, and at the end, the customer wins because every intranet product would really have to go the extra mile in order for it to be attractive and to be needed by enterprise customers. Uh, if we look at how we've been doing it at Valo, just because you have mentioned Valo, our goal is to always be a year and a half, 2 years in front of Microsoft, fill in the gaps that customers need a lot faster because there's no time to wait for Microsoft for a lot of things. For example, a multilingual, they talked about it last year at Ignite. It's still not there this year. It's going to be coming next year. But at Valo, we had it for a year and a half now. So a customer that needs it today, they have to go with an intranet in a box product like Valo. And we always want to be 2 years in advance of Microsoft and fill in those gaps so customers can be productive today. Another example, a mega menu with security trimming inside of the mega menu. Microsoft has been talking about it for 2 years now. Intranet in a box products like Valo had them already. So again, uh, can you use Microsoft to build your own intranet? Yes, you can. And Microsoft makes it a lot easier to do so. However, a lot of things are still missing today to build an enterprise-ready intranet. And that's where third-party solutions like Valo come in, fill in the gaps a lot sooner, and are more way in front of the curve compared to Microsoft. So you can be productive today, have all of the features needed today instead of having to custom dev them. I really hope this answered your questions, the question in the chat. Uh, awesome. I see that is about it for the questions. Thank you everybody for joining me today. I'll give you back 10 minutes of your time. This way you have time to take a coffee, go for a quick walk outside, and really have a bit of a break before your next meetings. Thank you all for joining me. I really hope you found this valuable and was useful to you. The recording as well as the slides will be sent to you probably tomorrow, but will definitely be sent to you by the end of the week. Thank you again, everybody, for joining. Have a great end of week. We're almost Friday, and enjoy the weekend. Thank you very much, everybody.